Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game, and it's West Ham United against Newcastle United for the 19th fixture of the Premier League season. West Ham are finally out the bottom three. Newcastle, however, are in the bottom three. If you'd like to join us on the boats on Saturday before the match or after the match, or both, you can get your ticket below in the description on YouTube, or go to hammerchat.com and click on the thread called Moored. Tom, let's start with yourself. What's your thoughts on our opponents, Newcastle United?
I was really surprised actually by the way they started the season. I thought they looked a good outfit under Rafa Benitez. He got them organised. They'd made some signings in the summer, and they looked to have turned a corner. But I can't admit that I've watched much of them as late. I know myself and you, Gio, we were up at Newcastle. We watched the game at the start of the season, and like I said, they looked a really good side. Top four for the first first month of the season. But I've been really surprised how they've changed in the last few weeks, and losing however many on the bounce and not won in sort of 9 or 10 games, I think.
Well, making his debut on Talk a Good Game, you'll recognise him from the Hammer Chat Forum channel. That link is also in the description. It's Mike. Mike, welcome. And what's your thoughts on the Spanish waiters Geordie side?
Yeah, I'm surprised they're doing as badly as they are at the moment, but they didn't really reinforce their first team enough, I think, in the summer. They've gone for a real trough in form, and I just think they're really going to struggle now with what they've got in their team. They've got a couple of good players, I'm sure we'll move on to that, but Benitez is a good manager, but he hasn't really got the players, I don't think, to keep them up as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar to you two. I mean, the point Mike just said there about the manager, but he doesn't have the players. I would say the same for Huddersfield and Brighton, etc. And they're above Newcastle currently. So I think he's actually probably got just as strong squad as the other two promoted side, but he's doing the worst out of three, which is interesting. Tom, we were, like you said, we were at St James's Park, we got torn apart. So is there anyone you fear for Saturday from the Newcastle side, or do you look at and think that is a side that is seriously lacking in talent?
I think it is a serious, side lacking in talent. Obviously, they had their honeymoon period coming back into the league. But you can't really say, as Mike said there, as he alluded to, that they didn't really make any signings that made you sit up and go, oh, So no, I think they're definitely a side lacking in talent, and really one that we should be looking to, be beating comfortably. And realistically, there's nobody in that team that I believe can really pose us a threat, to be honest with you, other than Jose Perez, who does blow hot and cold now and again. And he can, flashes moments of brilliance, but other than that, no, nobody really that stands out for me in that team.
What about yourself, Mike? You said they've got one or two good players. So is there anyone that you sort of are looking at and thinking he's a decent player? We need to watch out for him on Saturday.
Yeah, I reckon Marino is a real problem for us, because as well as that, we're playing the polo mint formation, aren't we? We've got no one in the middle really left without Noble and Lanzini. So I'm a little bit worried that their midfield might be useful. Hayden doesn't look too bad either. Marino is a really good signing for them. I think he's looked really useful. The other thing that worries me is their pace. Atsu, in particular, who ripped a new one in us away, if you remember, you were there. And I'm worried about that amount of pace up against our back line, which can be a bit on the slow side, let's face it. So I think that's where the real issues come. But for them, their issue is they haven't really got anyone to put the ball in the back of the net, even if they do get around us,
Yeah, I can only echo that. I mean, I remember Atsu. It took him about half an hour, but once he worked out, all he had to do was kick it past Zabaleta and run, and he was away down the side. That's all he continued to do for the remainder of the hour, and he did it repeatedly. And it was horrible to watch, actually. Zabaleta, through no fault of his own. However, I do think our change information might rule that factor out. Surprised none of you mentioned Matt Ritchie, to be honest. He's always a threat when he's on the pitch, etc. And Dwight Gale's finding the net in the Premier League. He's one of those strikers that you think is a decent striker, but is he good enough to be like a consistent starter in the Premier League if you've got aspirations of top half football, for example? But let's get in the thick of it then, Tom. Do you think Newcastle are going to get relegated? I mean, they have lost 8 of their last 9 Premier League games. They are in horrendous form.
Yeah, they've looked awful. And obviously, some of you know, obviously, I live up north, and I've got a few friends up here that are, Newcastle season ticket holders. And to be honest with you, the start of the season, I think they were as shocked as most football fans were as to how well they were performing. But I think the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks the selling of the club by Mike Ashley and the transition potentially to Amanda Staveley, as they really think, I think the wheels have come off almost. And I think they could be staring down the barrel of another relegation if they don't look to reinforce themselves again in January.
Do you think they'll go down, Tom?
I'm one of those people I wouldn't like to see him go down. I've been up to Newcastle a few times to see the away games. It's probably actually my most visited away ground, and I do love Newcastle as a side. I think they're a proper English team with a lot of history. But going off of recent form, I would say yes. I think they're probably one of maybe 4 or 5 teams that look likely that could go down at this point.
Mike, last question on Newcastle. January transfer window opens in 10 days, 11 days. Jonjo Shelvey, he's been linked with West Ham again. Would you take him to West Ham?
No, because he could permanently getting himself sent off. I mean, the guy's been sent off twice this season, already suspended, isn't he, on Saturday? So he won't be facing us. And also, he is quite a good passer with the ball, but he's a little bit of a liability on discipline front. So for that reason, no, I wouldn't.
I'm not sure. I'm for some reason I read somewhere that he was back from his suspension, so I don't know if he's missed his game because it was a double yellow, I think. So it was only a 1-game suspension. I'm not sure, but let's move on to West Ham. Tom, let's start with the back. 3 centre backs. We've been playing 3 centre backs. We're probably going to stick with 3 centre backs. However, this is where he's got one of 2 headaches, I think, and that is which one do you leave out? You've got James Collins, Winston Reid, Ogbonna, and then makeshift Aaron Creswell. Which one of those centre backs would you not play?
Well, to be honest with you, I think he's got to go with a team that went at Stoke. I wasn't fortunate enough to watch the game on Wednesday night, or Tuesday night, sorry, against Arsenal. But I think he's got to go with the same team that won against Stoke. I don't think what we saw that Ginger Collins was an absolute rock again at the weekend. And I think he has to stick with the winning side. And I've absolutely loved, we highlighted it last week of that difference that Cresswell's made since he's playing left centre-back and, almost the influence it has on Masuaku going forward and the interchangeable play. So, Cresswell definitely has to start. And I'd like to see Collins back in there. I didn't obviously get to see the game, but what I've read on social media of his performance, Reid looked a little shaky on Tuesday night. So, I think for me, stick with the same team that won against Stoke, and I'd have Collins and Ogbonna in there with Cresswell.
Mike, do you agree with that, or would you be playing?
Yeah, defence-wise, yeah, totally. I think we should. It's a defence which is held up pretty well. Unfortunately, I was at the game on Tuesday, and what a horrific thing I was. Never mind. But I mean, well, I would stick with that same defence. So I agree with Tom.
Yeah, well, Darren Moyes is not in his press conference yet, so the injury news is a bit light on the ground. So we're not too sure just how fit Mark Noble is, if he's going to make it or not. And the same goes for Czech Chiati. Despite him being back in training, it seems that Moyes is quite patient with players returning from training. So they could both be available, but they could both be unavailable. So Tom, let's assume Noble isn't there. What do you do with that centre midfield? I mean, I know you didn't watch the Arsenal game, so Mike's perspective will be a bit different to yours, perhaps. That might be a good thing for the show. So, Tom, what would you do in the centre of the park?
Obviously, Obiang's the other one. We're not sure. Fernandes, I've heard, is obviously is injured as well.
He's out. He's out for a while.
Yeah. So Declan Rice. I think he was, however good their young boy Mikel Merino is, I think, what we've got is just as good in Declan Rice. And he looked comfortable as anything when he came on against Stoke the other day. And I think obviously against lesser teams and lesser opposition, he's got a chance to prove himself. He doesn't have to be thrown in against the deep end, against the big boys like City and Chelsea. But, I don't think I've seen someone as comfortable in centre midfield, probably since Reece Oxford played there. And the transition was seamless when Noble went off. And I just think we have to start blooding some of these youngsters. Some are more readily available than the others. Obviously, from what I heard again on Tuesday night, that Keane wasn't great when he started. But Declan Rice is something special, I think. And I'm at the point now I'm quite comfortable seeing him would potentially start in a game. He made me a little bit worried earlier on in the season when the defensive frailties were there at the start of the season. But what I've seen of him in the last few weeks, he's definitely catching my eye. So I'd have him in the centre of the park with Obiang for this one.
I'm going to stick with you, Tom, just because like I said, I know Mike went to the game, so it's perspective, and I don't want his opinion to sort of change yours here. Lanzini suspended his second game. So how would you set up the other 3 of your players? You've got 3 players to use there. So who would you put in and where?
Well, I think obviously Arnautovic and Antonio has been working. And again, this is completely off of the basis of what I saw last week. I wasn't impressed with Antonio. His work rate obviously is good, but his technical ability is left to be desired at the minute. And I would like to see Hernandez start and having Arnautovic playing off of him. And then obviously the other one you probably look to have Ayew in there as well. So, and I'm sure that Mike's going to tell me that I'm completely wrong, that Hernandez sucked the other night, that Ayew was crap, but I think a trio of Ayew, Hernandez and Arnautovic would probably be the best fit for the weekend.
Mike, same question to you, but first of all, let's start with your midfield there. Who, no Noble, let's say Czech's unavailable as well. Who would you be putting in alongside Obiang?
I'll tell you what, mate, we've got a real problem here. We really have, because there's, okay, you put Declan Rice as our weak player who's going to like sit in front of the back four. Okay, cool with that. He's looked really good and assured, especially at his young age, doing that role. But we have no one to get the ball forward from defence and act in transition to attack. There is no one there to do that now. Lanzini and Noble, the only people who are doing it. Even if Kante was fit and played, he actually isn't very good at doing that. Pretty good running around, but not actually taking the ball forward. So my main issue with this, and we saw some other options. You got Obiang really on the Arsenal game could not pass at all to anyone in the same sponsored shirt. And Domingos Quino just looks completely out of his depth. He looked like a little boy on the pitch, and he played like a little boy on the pitch. You know, I think he's going to be a good player, but he's nowhere near there yet. We've got a real issue getting that ball forward. I wonder if you won't be tempted to maybe drop Antonio deeper or attempt to get someone who can carry the ball forward.
So would you keep Rice in beside Obiang, or would you literally have Obiang?
Yeah, I would have Obiang and Rice, but I would maybe drop Antonio instead of playing with striker. I'm actually in centre midfield. Let's face it, he's played every other position. Why not chuck him in there as well and see if you've got someone who can carry the ball forward?
And who would you play ahead of him in your other positions, Mike?
Arnautovic and probably Hernandez. I've got a thing. I just don't want to see Ayew in the first team. I know you rate him. I really don't. He was awful against Arsenal again in that anonymous way that he did. Mind you, everyone was. You could say that. I know you rate him. I just really don't.
I don't think. I keep saying it though. Ayew can't play in a counter-attacking team, and we tried to play counter-attacking football against Arsenal. For me, Ayew got stitched up a little bit with the tactics. Ayew just cannot play in a counter-attacking team. He's not got the legs for it. In a game where we're expected to have possession in the ball in and around the area, that's where you play Ayew. You know, that's how we're going to play against Newcastle. I would be open to playing him. Tom, this is a curveball. Would you be open to the idea of maybe having Ogbonna, Reid and Gins as your centre-backs and putting Aaron Creswell in the centre midfield to shift the ball about alongside Obiang and Rice?
I mean, you could do. I mean, on the same sort of, you know, to counter that, I mean, you could also do the same thing with Zabaleta. I mean, we've argued in the past we could potentially drop Antonio down to right wing back and put Zabaleta in the middle. But to be honest with you, like I said, I was that comfortable with Declan Rice playing in midfield. I think this is the perfect sort of game for him, and I really wouldn't tinker too much with how we set up against Stoke to this weekend. But obviously, we could do if we needed to or had to.
Yeah, well, myself, I would be playing Reid, Ogbonna and Creswell at the back. Ginge, I don't know. He always just scares me. He still just scares me. The centre midfield is the massive issue. Our ball retention on Saturday is going to be potentially horrific. Noble and Lanzini are not only our two best passers, but the only two that are comfortable and willing to take responsibility. The only two that are willing to get the foot on the ball and try and make things happen. And that worries me a great big deal. Obiang's picked by default. He just has to play. There's no other option. Rice is probably also picked by default, but I think he played well against Arsenal, to be fair to him. And then I would probably play Antonio and Arnautovic. I think they picked themselves. You've got to decide who you play here. Hernandez is the obvious choice, but is he the right choice? Sometimes it's two different answers. I would be tempted to start Ayew ahead, Ayew, Antonio and Arnautovic, and play three attacking midfielders and stick with what's been working, which is no striker. It's been working, unfortunately. Mike, are you confident for this one then, going into this game?
It's a weird game, isn't it? Because since our little mini revival under Moyes, right, we've played either away or teams that we're expected to lose against. Yeah, so we could play counter-attacking against Stoke. We knew they'd come at us. We could play counter-attacking against Chelsea and Arsenal. This is probably the first real team. Even Leicester, we just arrived. We kind of knew they were going to come at us and we could play counter-attack. And they're going to play counter-attack now. Newcastle's the first team that are going to defend and try and play us on the break, as they've got a bit of pace. That's definitely what they're going to do, isn't it? So this is the first time we've seen what Moyes can do when he's dominating possession. I have no idea what's going to turn up here. It's going to be different. I hope it'll work. I've been quite impressed with Moyes. Hopefully he'll get it right. Am I confident? Yeah, I think we'll beat him.
Yeah, Tom, what about yourself? Are you confident for this one?
You know, the cup is the cup. I've obviously, when we did the preview for the Arsenal game, I said I wanted this game to be the focal point. And look, we've been in fantastic form, in the last couple of weeks or week or so in the league, and of course I'm excited for this game. You know that the fans have got behind the players the last few times at London Stadium, and we've just looked at a different outfit under Moyes. And this is a team on the slide in Newcastle, and we can take advantage of that. Then I think that we're in the perfect position to do that. We've lost a few players from injury, but certain players are playing at a fantastic level right now. And I think we've got every reason to be confident in this one. And to be honest with you, I'd be quite disappointed to see us, sit back against a side like this, because to be honest with you, if we play like the way we did against Stoke against this sort of Newcastle side, there's no reason why we can't be winning, 3 or 4-0.
I'm not as confident as you two. I'm very wary for this one, actually. I am. For some reason, this one scares me quite a bit, because I think it's just the fact that we might not have Noble and Lanzini. I struggle. So that Arsenal performance is fresh in my mind, in the fact that we didn't really know what to do with the ball. Nobody really knew what to do. Now, I know Arnautovic will come in and Antonio and that. I almost got a feeling that Rafa Benitez can almost David Moyes, if that makes sense. He can almost set up defensively and say to David Moyes, well, I'm going to play how you play, but it'll be accepted by my fans. If you try and play defensively against me at your own ground, your fans will eventually get a bit bored, a bit grumpy. It won't take long before we're camping in our box at 0-0. The crowd will eventually start going, oh, because they'll want to see a bit more. They want to see attacking intent. Benitez will know that. And while they've lost 8 of their last 9, the last 3, they've only lost by a goal margin. And in there, they played some of the big teams. They played the likes of Chelsea and Man U and Arsenal, I think, in that. So they have played some of the big teams. The results can be a little bit misleading to an extent. But at the same time, they've still lost 8 of their last 9. Our players are on form. Arnautovic, Hernandez, Ayew, Antonio, to an extent, they're all match winners. They can all win a game with a moment of brilliance, and that's, unfortunately, I think that's what we actually need to rely on. But Masuaku will be key. He's key to our creativity. But Mike, your debut on the show. Well, actually, before I get to Mike, actually no, I'll do predictions, then I'll tell you what the charity bet is, because I wonder if these two are essentially going to pick what could be a winning bet. Mike, what's your score prediction for Saturday?
We'll win. It won't be sexy, but I think we'll win 2-0.
2-0, Tom?
I'm similar to Mike. Well, same score predictions, Mike. But I just, like I said, I think we established these as the bread and butter games, and I do feel confident. I don't have a reason to. Well, obviously, I didn't see the game Tuesday night, but I still have that reason to be confident from last Saturday. So I think it's 2-0. Like Mike said, I don't think it will be sexy to say the least, but I still think we win here comfortably.
I'm confident we won't get beat. If that makes sense. I'm just not confident we've got enough. But I'm going to say 1-0. Just I think it will be. It's almost going to be like the Chelsea performance. But 1-0. The charity bet we would possibly have all won. That is West Ham United to win under 2.5 goals. So we'll have to win 1-0 or 2-0, which we're all predicting. And then Pedro Obiang to get a booking. That boy is been lucky not to get a booking the last 3 games. His luck's going to run out, and I think it's going to run out on Saturday when he's got an 18-year-old next to him. He's been making silly tackles. Odds. Bet we haven't given us the odds yet. They'll be out tomorrow, so keep your eyes on social media. Do keep your eyes on David Moyes' press conference on the official website, because that'll be key for the team news, especially for Mark Noble and Czech Chiati as well. Tom, thank you. Mike, thank you. We've been Hammers Chat. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Check out the latest Mike on Monday, which is on the screen right now. And we will see you on Saturday late in the evening with our match review, hopefully celebrating 3 points for West Ham United.